Good evening, everyone. I'm David Selberg, CEO at Hospice of Santa Barbara. We have so many folks participating tonight from all over the United States and from countries as far away as Argentina and South Africa. So thank you all for being with us. And a very special thank you to our lead sponsors. They include the Natalie Orfila Foundation and Lou Buglioli, the Ridley Tree Cancer Center, and the Santa Barbara Foundation. All are sponsoring our entire Illuminate speaker series. And now I have the pleasure to introduce my colleague and friend at Hospice of Santa Barbara, Charles Caldwell. Charles?
Hey there, David. It's great to be here tonight. Really looking forward to Jene's talk. She's one of my new favorite people on the planet, so excited about that. As many of you know, Hospice of Santa Barbara is a local nonprofit that's been serving families coping with grief or life-threatening illness for the past 47 years. Our motto is compassionate care, freely given. And the Illuminate Speaker Series is also offered free as a result of everything that everyone's been going through during the pandemic, all the anxiety and the struggle. And so we've been able to invite some incredible speakers like Jene to be able to share their wisdom with us and help us all kind of get through this journey together. So if you'd like to help us support this series and to help ensure its future, we'd love it if you would be able to consider making a donation. So you'll see in the chat feature our website, and you can just go to the website and make a donation to help support this series. And David, now back to you.
Thank you so much, Charles. And now I have the pleasure to introduce our special guest speaker this evening, Jene Johnson. Jene Johnson, a program innovation leader, certified professional coach, racial healing and emotional intelligence educator, leads the unique effort to bring mindfulness into public health practices and across programs in African American communities. Throughout her public health career, her goal has been to improve organizations' abilities to manage change, stay resilient, inspire growth, and instill a culture of mindfulness. Jene is the founder of the Right Within Experience, an experiential mindfulness program that reclaims humanity, joy, and well-being for Black people through mindfulness practices. In the fall 2020 issue of Mindful magazine, Jene Johnson was recognized by her peers as one of the 12 powerful women of the mindfulness movement. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jene Johnson. Jene?
Thank you, David. That was a lot. Good evening, everyone. It's such a delight to be with you. I'm coming to you from Oakland, California, and I know that we are here as a human community from all over the world, and I'm sending you such a warm, warm welcome. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about joy and pain and the art of flourishing in these unprecedented times. Human suffering and stress is universal, but so is resilience and recovery. We can actually increase our appreciation for life. We can discover new possibilities. We can have spiritual growth. We can have a perception of our own strengths and abilities and improve our relationships in spite of going through some very hard and challenging times. So tonight, I would like to offer you some practices that will help you to reclaim joy and happiness in your life, to reach for the other side of the pain. You know, joy and pain are like two sides of the same coin. And the way we know that we're experiencing one or the other is because we have experienced the other. We know that we're experiencing joy because we have been on the downside and have experienced hard times. And we know we are experiencing hard times because we've experienced joy. Joy is at the top of the emotional guidance scale. It takes its place with appreciation and love. And these are the high level emotions where healing and manifestation and flourishing of life takes place. So we don't want to lose access to joy, even in the midst of times that are challenging. One of the ways to make this happen, next slide, please. We're going to start showing you some slides. One of the ways to make this happen is to access the breath. The breath is that very simple unit of life that we all have. You have heard that first breath of a new baby and the last breath as someone is transitioning to out of this world. So it is with the breath, though. The breath is this powerful unit that allows us to shift into and sustain a more balanced state. I would like to teach you a simple practice. It's called heart-focused breathing. This is a practice you can take into your life as you're washing your hands, walking down the hall, doing your dishes, turning the key to open the door. It helps us to regain balance, to bring in a sense of what's called coherence. That's the optimal state of heart, mind, and body. Heart-focused breathing helps us to manage energy. And that is the thing that leaks from us when we are feeling stressed, reactive, anxious, uncertain. So this little practice enables us to regain a sense of balance. It opens up some possibility. It helps us to shift so that we can know what is available for us to do next. So please join me in some heart-focused breathing. I'd like you to sit in a nice upright position. Finding your place comfortably. Dropping your gaze or closing your eyes, and just simply follow my instructions. I'd like you to focus your attention in the area of the heart. Imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart space or chest area, just breathing slower and deeper than usual. Gently and easily sending the breath in and out of the central chest area of the heart. When we do this, it helps us to save energy. It helps us to turn down the volume on depleting emotions. It helps us to establish a calm but alert state. Breathing deeply and slowly. That's beautiful. Returning to the space. That's your first practice, heart-focused breathing. It helps us to build resilience. Resilience is the capacity to prepare for, recover, and adapt when we're facing adversity, when we're facing stress, when we're facing challenges. This simple breathing practice gives us a little inner pause. And the breath has been known to do that for centuries among many, many, many different people and cultures. Next slide, please. Another aspect of building resilience are the 6 habits of happiness worth cultivating. This is from the study of positive psychology found at the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley. Rather than focus on getting rid of problems and focusing in on what is problematic symptoms of stress, We can build resilience by cultivating positive emotions. Now, look, the brain has what's called a negativity bias. In other words, negatives stick to the brain like Velcro and positives roll off like Teflon. So, what we need to do is we need to be intentional about responding to negatives with at least three positives. One negative, three positives. That's the formula. And here are 6 habits that you can cultivate to help you shift and actually change your brain. The first habit is kindness. Being kind to others makes us feel good. Opening the door for someone, helping someone pick up their groceries after things have fallen all over the floor because the bag is broken. Kindness and altruistic acts light up, can you believe this? The same pleasure centers in the brain as food and sex. Who knew? Another wonderful habit of happiness is forgiveness, dropping grudges. When we forgive those who have wronged us, we feel better about ourselves and we actually experience more positive emotions and open up an energy center that gives us more room to feel closer to others. It may not mean that you restore a relationship, but what you do is you stop expecting things to be different. You stop expecting the harm to be different. And you decide that for yourself, you will not look for retribution or revenge. Dropping grudges. Another habit of happiness, get moving. Movement is medicine. Regular exercise increases self-esteem, reduces anxiety and stress, and may well be the most instant happiness booster of all. Next assignment, 10-minute dance party in your house. Whatever your moves are, make it happen because movement is absolutely medicine. It activates the happiness hormones in our system and it helps us to metabolize stress. Another habit of happiness, and one that has a tremendous amount of research behind it, is gratitude, giving thanks. Research reveals the enormous power of simply counting our blessings. Regular expressions of gratitude promote optimism, better health, and greater satisfaction in life. Number 5, keep friends close. Which you might be saying, Jene, but I've been sheltered in place. I've been away from my friends. Well, here's the deal. Social connections are a key to our happiness. And research indicates it's quality more than quantity. So you want to make time for those closest to you. So how do you do that? So my mom is 88. I live in California. She's in New York. And I taught her how to FaceTime so that we could see each other. I have a friend that we've been friends for over 30 years. We got together once a week over FaceTime to talk and stay connected, sharing our joys, our woes, crying together, laughing together, having a cup of tea together, and the occasional glass of wine. But it was so wonderful because I could count on every Wednesday I'm going to see Colette. And last but not least is paying attention. Studies show that mindful people have stronger immune systems and are less likely to be anxious or hostile. Once again, tamping down the emotions that are depleting and draining and sending us down a downward spiral. Next slide, please. Mindfulness is being present to what is. It's paying attention on purpose. Mindfulness, I call it the first medicine. It's moving us from being on autopilot to aware. Do you ever jump in your car, arrive at the front of your house, and think, how did I get here? I don't even remember. That autopilot feeling. And we could do that in our day-to-day life. What mindfulness does, it helps us to be present in mind, in body and surroundings, and holding that with an attitude of kindness and curiosity, meaning an attitude that is absent of judgment, quieting that inner critic. And no one likes judgment as much as we do. What mindfulness enables us to do is just to stop and be still. And it trains us, it's training in focusing our attention on what is in the present. When we're focused on the past, it tends to lead to sadness. And when we're focused too far on the future, it tends to lead to anxiousness. When we can be right here and now, in the here and now, which is actually the only moment we have, it enables us to access the fullness of who we are and the fullness of whoever is in front of us. How much we have missed by not being present. Next slide, please. I love this quote from Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who brought mindfulness-based stress reduction to the University of Massachusetts, and now it's just all over. He says, ultimately, I see mindfulness as a love affair with life, with reality and imagination, with the beauty of your own being, with your heart and body and mind, and with this world. This ability to bring yourself to yourself and pay attention to what's happening in your body, to listen to your inner intuitions and your internal states, the little sensations that come up that are communicating with you time and time again. This is what is important in us being able to recapture joy and to live fully. Now you might say, well, why do I need to do that? Next slide, please. Why do I need to be mindful? Next slide. Because we live in a VUCA world, VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We've been through COVID-19 and still coming through it. Shelter in place. And I hope for many of you, you chose to shelter in peace. We have felt isolated, loss. We've had many losses in life, in jobs, in businesses, loss in school time. It's made us anxious. We've been masking up and washing our hands and trying to be aware of a microscopic virus holding a certain level of hypervigilance in our system. And we've been sad, and we have struggled financially, and we've been afraid. And that is why we need to be mindful. We need to utilize mindfulness to help us navigate these roads that seem uncertain and very complex, and to help us recapture and reclaim our very birthright, which is joy. The good news is that it's wired into our system. Next slide, please. This concept, neuroplasticity, basically says what we think, what we do, what we pay attention to with consistency will reshape the neural pathways, the structure of our brain. There's a tradition that says the mind takes the shape it rests upon. The modern update is that the brain takes the shape that the mind rests upon. For instance, you regularly rest your mind on worries, self-criticism, anger, then your brain will gradually begin to take the shape, the neural structures and dynamics of anxiety, low self-worth, and prickly reactivity to others. On the other hand, if you regularly rest your mind upon noticing, I'm all right now, seeing the good in yourself and letting go of what you cannot change. These are the practices that will gradually shape the brain in the shape of calm strength, self-confidence, and inner peace. You can't stop your brain from growing and changing, but you can decide which way you want it to grow. Next slide, please. Lots of little things can wear you down, but lots of little things, stockpiling little things, done consistently, that's the key, can get you to a better place. Small efforts made routinely can gradually build the muscle of your brain and improve your well-being. Next slide, please. And this all leads us to the emotional intelligences, the essential human competencies, such as self-awareness, self-management, empathy, the arts of listening, resolving conflicts, and cooperation. This is the great work of Dr. Daniel Goleman, and I see he's coming. He's coming here next month on June 23rd, which is my birthday. So tell Dr. Goleman I said hello, and that I love his work. These essential human competencies are the things that we need in order to help us navigate life in such a way that we are doing it exquisitely, with more elegance, and in such a way that has us do the very thing that we're here to do, which is to connect with others. We cannot accomplish anything outside of relationships and human connection. And oftentimes we fail at those very things because we're not skillful. But these competencies, self-awareness, self-control, empathy, the art of listening, resolving conflict, and cooperation are skills that can be learned. And mindfulness is the runway into building the emotional intelligences. Next slide, please. So a little more on mindfulness. The basic skills for mindfulness is 1, notice the present moment. Are you with me? Notice the present moment. It's paying attention, yes, to how I am paying attention. Staying grounded in your body, recognizing thoughts and emotions for what they are. They are not you. Our thoughts can come and go. Our feelings can come and go. And mindfulness encourages curiosity and a non-judgmental attitude. When we have that sensation, a little triggering, a little anxiousness, we can go, I'm feeling something in my stomach. The back of my neck is aching. What is that? Taking the breath, let me investigate. Let me see what it is, being curious. What is my body wanting me to know? Next slide, please. So this is the basic focused attention process, the basic mindfulness meditation process. We find the breath, paying attention to the breath. We notice within seconds, we are distracted. We're distracted by a noise. My arm itches. What are we going to have for dinner tonight? I wonder what's on sale at Safeway. Any number of thoughts. So that is called a distraction. The brain is always talking to us, but this is once again the meta attention. We're going to notice how am I paying attention? I started on the breath. I'm noticing a distraction. You notice the distraction. You said, email. We're not doing email right now, Jene. We're breathing. And you gently bring yourself back to the attention on the breath. We find our breath, we notice a distraction, and we orient ourselves back to the breath. This is the process. This is the muscle of focused attention that we can build in a basic mindfulness practice. Doing this 2 minutes, 3 minutes, built up to 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day. There's some wonderful apps to support you. The Calm app, CALM, Insight Timer. There's several that you can access to help you build your practice. Next slide, please. The other thing that we want to do as we are about to breathe is to sit alert and upright, not uptight, but just upright and relaxed. Because what the research is telling us is that you cannot reach the high states of deep relaxation while we're reading, watching TV, maybe doing one of our favorite activities, fishing, sewing, crocheting. You need to stay and invite the body to relax and be still. Next slide, please. So let's try this together. Focused attention. Just follow my prompts and we'll do this together. This is great practice for in this moment, and it's a great practice for you to take with you when you are home. Finding your breath, dropping your gaze, closing your eyes, sitting in an upright but relaxed position. Staying with the breath, gentle inhale and exhale. Bringing your attention to where the breath seems most resonant, at your nostrils, your chest, your belly. If your mind wanders, it's okay. Gently and easily bring your mind back. We're breathing. Simple, easy, inviting the body to relax, rolling your shoulders back, dropping them down. Deep breath in, audible exhale out. Releasing the tensions of the day. Finding a place where the breath is our friend, always there. Beautiful. I hope you enjoyed that little respite. You want to give that to yourself from time to time through the day. Next slide, please. Because life can be like this snow globe. Just a hot mess. But when we're still, yes, look what happens. All of that snow settles down and we invite calm and clarity and happiness. And what does we also invite with this clarity, clear-sightedness, because now I can see through the globe. And so that's what you want to do. You want to be able to see through, have a moment of clear-sightedness when things are hectic. Stop. Let's go to the next slide, please. Yes, stop, take that breath. Observe. And then proceed mindfully. Or what I also invite you to do, stop, take a breath, observe, and pray. We can invite the divine into our lives for comfort and for guidance for the times when we feel absolutely overwhelmed by our circumstances. So whatever your spiritual practice is, I invite you to invoke that and bring that into your mindful practice. Stop. Take a breath. Observe. mind, body, surroundings. Proceed mindfully and or pray. Next slide, please. Another wonderful micro practice, these practices that you can take on the go, is a 3-breath practice. We breathe in, bringing attention to our breath, gently, easy. We invite the body to relax. And then we ask, what is important now? Not what's important in the next 50 things of importance, but what is just the next thing that is important? 3-breath practice. You take a breath, finding your breath, attention to your breath, invite the body to relax, and then inquire what is important now. Wonderful practice when you're in the midst of feeling very overwhelmed and you might not know what to do next. What is important now? It might be as simple as, I just think I need to take a drink of water. Or let me call my mom. Or, I'm just going to sit for a minute and make a cup of tea and make a list of what is next to do. But finding what is important now. So you've just gotten some wonderful practices, heart-focused breathing, focused attention, the micro practice of 3 breaths. And now the next practice I want to give you is journaling. Next slide, please. What the research is telling us is that when we take a moment to actually put pen to paper and write what is on our mind, it helps us to release, to metabolize, and it actually helps us to gain perspective and see that, okay, we've got some good things going on here. And that's what I'm going to have you do right now. So please grab a pen, piece of paper, nothing fancy. Next slide, please. And I'm going to ask you, give you some time to do this. I'm going to ask you to jot down a few things that you are grateful for. And then I'll ring the bell and we're going to switch. And I'll ask you to write down what makes me come alive. We're starting with gratitude because, once again, it's one of the 6 habits of happiness worth cultivating. And Dr. Bob Emmons has done tremendous research on gratitude. He wrote several books, but 2 are Thanks and Gratitude Works. And what Dr. Emmons says, if you write 5 things that you are grateful for in a journal once a week, that will help you shift your attitude and perspective. So let's begin with I am grateful for. On your mark, get set, go. I am grateful for. Beautiful. Now let's go to the next question. What makes me come alive? Pow! What makes you feel alive and vibrant? What brings you joy? Please jot those things down. Bringing attention to what makes you happy, what makes you feel alive, what brings you joy. Excellent. Now let me hear from you. Put it in the chat. What are you grateful for? What makes you come alive? Let's amplify this community. And what's so wonderful about doing such a thing is that you will see yourself in other people, or when you see what somebody else wrote, you might say, hey, I'm going to grab that. Thank you. Singing, beautiful. Music, here we go with music. Your doggies, garden, beautiful. Nature, grandchild, sunshine, your health, breath, being creative, health, family, friends, nature, washing the dishes, go on now. Mountains, family, laughter, walking on the beach, exercise. Woo! Look at all these things. Experiences in nature, your family and friends. Somebody said that they're having a baby. Congratulations. Dancing, traveling, planning a trip, the wilderness, flexibility and strength. Beautiful. Hey, Brendan Crow. Grateful for family. Dancing. Hello, somebody. Friendships, animals. Grateful for your husband. Yes, husbands are fabulous. Adventures, music, life. I love this. Hospice, the first coffee in the morning. Yes, my children. Such beautiful things to be grateful and thankful for. Thank you so much for sharing and for amplifying and enriching this moment with these beautiful reflections. Next slide, please. I want to tell you poetry, beautiful. I want to tell you about the Rwandan prescription for depression. Sun, drum, dance community. Thank you. Yeah, keep all the goodies coming. A Rwandan shared with a journalist, he said, we had a lot of trouble with Western mental health workers who came here immediately after the genocide. And we had to ask some of them to leave. They came and their practice did not involve being outside in the sun where you begin to feel better. There was no music, no drumming to get our blood flowing again. There was no sense that everyone had taken the day off so that the entire community could come together to try to lift you up and bring you back to joy. There was no acknowledgement of the depression as something invasive and external that could actually be cast out again. So remembering that the Rwandan genocide, hundreds of thousands of people were killed. He said, instead, they would take people one at a time into these dingy little rooms and have them sit around for an hour or so and talk about the bad things that happened to them. We had to ask them to leave because the prescription for exercising this deep pain and trauma to move it out of the body and metabolize that level of deep stress was one, to be in communities such as we are today, to have the sun and to have music and to dance. A very deliberate choice. Next slide, please. To choose joy. Joy and happiness become a choice. It doesn't mean that we don't go on the down, that we don't feel deeply. Feel all the feels. And remember that joy is a reach away and it is your birthright. And the dance is between the joy and the pain. And that's what makes life livable. That's what makes healing available. Next slide, please. This is me and my late stepfather, who raised me, I guess, since I was 9. We're dancing at my sister's wedding, and he loved to dance, and he loved to dance with me, and I loved to dance with him. And I'm a former dancer, and he actually encouraged me in that field. Thank you. And I have this photo, actually, I'm sharing it with you, but I keep it here with me as a reminder to delight, as a reminder of the legacy that my dad gave me. He's from the island of St. Martin. My family is Afro-Caribbean, New York. You know, I guess you could tell I'm not a native Californian, right? So what we're going to do right now is we're going to dance. Cheryl, hit the music. Joy and pain, sunshine and rain. Dance in your seat. Found love, how it felt so good. Come on now, don't fail me. The kind that lasts forevermore. So you thought it would. Suddenly the things you see got you hurt so bad. Hey, Wayne, keep the music going. Things that make us happy make us sad. It seems to me that joy and pain, like sunshine and rain, joy and pain, like sunshine and rain. Love can be bitter, love can be sweet. Yes, yes. Sometimes devotion, sometimes deceit. One that you care for, give you. Wow, that dance was fast, but we're gonna come back to that good music. Before it's all over, I just want to tell you that this is the way through. You've got to move your body. You've got to turn it up. Somebody said turn it up. I love that. Gail Richards, hey baby, I love you. That's my cousin. She's in here from New York. We've got to turn it up. We've got to have music and dance. Sun Drum Dance Community. That is how we are going to move through this. Thank you so much for this time together. I hope you just took away a few practices that will enrich you and help you to be stronger and help you to flourish in these unprecedented times. Much love to you. Thank you, David.
Thank you so much, Jene, for sharing your heart and your passionate message. We're so deeply grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And now I have the pleasure to introduce members of our panel who represent truly the best of our Santa Barbara community, Dr. Stephen Hosea and Rachel Ross Steidel. First of all, let me share a bit about Dr. Hosea, who is an MD in infectious disease specialist in Santa Barbara, California, and has been practicing medicine for over 40 years. I first met Steve in the early 1990s when he was one of very few HIV/AIDS specialists serving the HIV/AIDS pandemic. And I was working as an HIV/AIDS worker for a community-based organization. The work he did was so profound to so many hundreds of people that were going and that were dying from HIV/AIDS. Our next panelist is Rachel Steidel, who is the executive director and founder of Youth Well. Youth Well aims to address gaps in mental health services for youth ages 10 to 25, expanding the dialogue with over 40 organizations and key stakeholders serving youth and building community collaborations in that service. So those are our two panelists. Thank you both for being here with Jene. And Rachel, I will pass it over to you. Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Jene, that was so wonderful. And I just have to share with you that when the dancing started, my husband, who's in the other room watching, poked his head in to make sure I was dancing. And he was dancing. That was just a wonderful way to end it. I'm curious to ask you how long it took you to build up this practice.
Well, you know, my practice in mindfulness actually started in my spiritual life. I have a Christ-centered faith and really started as a young person in prayer. And over time, over the years, then I got introduced to mindfulness. And so I would say I've really had a mindful practice for about 20 years now.
Wow. Wow. It is something that I am.
And that's why it's called a practice, because it's something you do little by little, day by day.
It's something I've been trying to learn as an adult because I have 3 daughters who are between 18 and 22. And I realized with my work with young people that I was a terrible example to them of practicing mindfulness. And one of the most wonderful things that I have learned and just find so rewarding is just the breathing. It's something that we can do that just takes a minute, and it can be such a game changer going into a conversation with somebody, getting ready for an interview, a test. It's really incredible.
It's absolutely. And that practice that I gave you all in the beginning, the heart focused breathing from Heart Map, where you simply take in the breath and send it through the heart space, because it's in the heart. Actually, the heart sends more messages to the brain than the brain to the heart. So we want to, and to calm depleting emotions and to give us that inner pause. So I'm really, I bet, Rachel, you weren't as terrible as you think, because parenting is a lot.
Parenting is a lot, but I think sometimes our coping can be to be busy when we're dealing with things. And to me, for so long, meditation and mindfulness was this thing that you had to commit to for an hour a day. And one of the things that I love is all of those things that you listed that I get to do with young people: paying attention, giving thanks, dropping grudges, forgiveness. They're all little things that we can do and incorporate into our entire day that don't have to take a lot of time.
Yes, it's the stockpiling of little things that will help us to develop new neural pathways, but it's that we do them consistently. So not just once in a while, but that we commit to them consistently. And even the little micro integrated practices of breathing, all of that helps, because then when the trigger comes, the body says, you know what to do with this. Take that breath.
Right. Steve, I'm curious, in medicine, if you see things changing with doctors and people incorporating more of this into their health and wellness.
I certainly do see that happening, not quite as fast as I'd like. I think part of the problem is the same one I've had. Is I spent most of my professional life in my left brain. And one of the wonderful things for me about coming alive is the last 45 minutes and being around someone like Jene and experiencing this. And that's one of the questions I have for you. I've been so practicing being in my head, dropping into my heart, like you helped me to do. I mean, how do we do that when we're so practiced at doing the other?
You do it by doing it. So just that couple of minutes, find that place. So when you sit down at your desk, make it that routine. I will drop into my heart here and do some heart-focused breathing. My first cup of coffee, I'm going to sit and drop into my heart. In the shower, before spinning off all the whatever we're thinking about in the shower. What are we thinking about in the shower anyway? Let me drop into my heart. At bedtime, let me drop into my heart. Because living a heartless life has gotten us, look where it's gotten us. It's gotten us what I'm calling it, right? It's gotten us a hot mess. So what we must do is commit to the little things. And then it's not overwhelming. Just commit to the little things. Before you're going to see a patient, this is what the nurses are doing. They drop into their heart. Because it's from that place of the heart that we know way more than we know up here. So that's what I would recommend to you, Dr. Stephen. You can do this. It's just little micro commitments that build over time.
Jene, one of the things that I've noticed too is working with high school students and being a parent is that if we're not modeling this and we're just asking people to do it, it's hard to change that and hard to have people invest in it. And I had some students speak a couple of years ago to a panel of providers and educators, and they were sharing some of the things that would make such a difference to them in feeling that people really believed in this. And they shared that just if a teacher taking the first 5 minutes of the class to do a breathing exercise to show that they're not just talking about it, but they really are making it a part of their practice. And I was curious and thinking about Steve talking about what that would be like if a doctor or nurse walked in and just for a minute did that with you before they started in. And so often our anxiety is so high, even going into a doctor's office.
Yes, it's called a moment to arrive. We do it at work as we start a meeting. We just take a moment, we're all around the table, and we take a moment to arrive. We set the timer for 60 seconds. Sometimes we do a full 3 minutes, and just everybody just sits and takes a moment to breathe and to arrive. And how wonderful would that be? We're always in, the whole thing is we always lean into what we're always. Well, it's the way you change the narrative is you start saying, I am mindful. I take my time with people. When someone's talking to me, I'm going to take that breath and look at them and be present and give them the best gift that I could give in any moment. And that's my presence. So thinking of it in those ways, when my doctor, I love my doctors, when she comes in, I'm going to ask her next time because she always takes a moment and she tilts her head and she looks at me. And I feel like she's just taking it in and then she'll start talking to me. I mean, it's just that little pause, the sacred pause, the inner pause, the space that you create by just stopping, stop, take a breath, observe, and then proceed mindfully. It can happen like that. But what you create in this space is an energy and a connection that can change the whole trajectory of your interaction with someone.
I like that, and I like to hear that because that approach is great. One of my problems is that throughout my life, I've had this intimate relationship with justifiable anger. So somebody says something to me, dear friend, child, someone, and I'm just off to the races trying to defend myself, and I don't pause.
Yes, so that's the reactivity that we have been.
And I don't know how to stop that once that avalanche occurs and starts to roll.
That's called the amygdala hijack. When this survival part of our brain takes over, the prefrontal cortex was the part of our brain that's wise and has good judgment. It's called amygdala hijack. I'm taking over, So what happens is with a regular, hear me when I say a regular mindful practice, you begin to tap down the volume on that amygdala, that level of sensitivity, such that you do so that you don't get dysregulated and disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with practice, and you too can do this. It's a practice. To think that I've only done it one way. The good news, once again, is that it's neuroplasticity. The brain is malleable. It can change if we give it some new things to do. What we think, do, and pay attention to with consistency will change the brain. It is available to every human being. And it is actually the key to a lot of the reactivity that's in our society. A lot of what we went through during COVID, the rise in social, in the need for social justice. So much of that fire, the insurrection, so much of the fire, because there are ways to go about things so that we can have a good end, a positive outcome is what I was searching for. So it's nothing wrong with having voice and choice. There's nothing wrong with pursuing your recovery through resistance, but we want to do it in a mindful way. And that is the practice that we are so needing in our world today.
Steve, I love that you shared that because I think so many of us can relate to that. And I'm seeing people posting in the chat. And I've gotten to practice this last couple of years mindful listening with young people. And to me, when we're doing that, it's a reality. The reality is so often when we are, someone's confronting us, we stop listening because we're preparing our response to them. And
Yeah.
one of the most freeing things that I've been learning through mindful listening is that when we don't have to come up with a response and we actually are just sitting and listening, there's so much more that we take in that actually can change the way we perceive it. And for me, for instance, as a mom, I can perceive it now as that's their reality. It may not match up with what I saw, but it's their reality. And so now how can I respond in a way that's not going to be so defensive? Which again is not easy, but it is taking those moments to really listen and be present.
Yes, it's once again, it's a practice. It's moving from autopilot to aware, from just doing what I do because that's who I am and that's how I go. And it's getting off of autopilot and becoming aware. That's the first of the emotional intelligences, is self-awareness. Oh, that fire came up in me. Let me notice that. Oh, let me hold up and let me be curious about what is that about? And is there another way? And then it's managing that. This is emotional intelligence. It's managing that. And then bringing in empathy and compassion. I know Dr. Goldman will probably talk about that on June 23rd. Don't forget, I told you to tell him hello.
And Jene, I am so sad to say that we have to turn it back over to David right now. And to wrap it up with you, I want to tell you that my gratitude exercise was just so appreciative to be able to be here with you today and get to learn from you today. So thank you for all your wisdom and all of your warmth and compassion.
It's my pleasure, Rachel and Dr. Stephen, my pleasure to be with all of you out there that I cannot see, but I can feel you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jene and Steve and Rachel, for being with us for an hour this evening. We're so grateful for your presence and your heart and your time. All of us at Hospice of Santa Barbara are so pleased to be able to offer the Illuminate series for free, but we could not do it without your support. And we're so grateful for that. So please consider making a donation to ensure the future of this series by using one of the methods shown here on your screen. Also, please visit our website shown here as well to sign up for our upcoming Illuminate series events next month. Which are all freely offered to everyone, but pre-registration is required ahead of time. So thank you all for spending this time with us, and have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.